This is the Backporch Education Podcast. Today on the show, Steve and I will discuss art.
Get your education. Backporch education.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Well, Steve, I sent you an article about an Italian sculptor, and I thought it'd be fun to kick it around. So we haven't laid the groundwork. We don't know where this is headed, but
This is one of those podcasts we just see what happens.
yeah. So well, I've got a poem, of course.
Oh, I thought maybe you'd bring John Cage's 3 minutes and 24 seconds.
Oh, very nice. Yeah.
Just open up the key cover and see what happens.
Right. Well, dead space, they say, is bad for a podcast. So,
Never stopped us.
So, oh, that's funny. Okay, so this poem. Well, you'll see what I'm trying to do. But this poem is by Edith Lovejoy Pierce, and it is entitled "The Third Day." On what silent feet it comes, the third day. No signal or sound, no stirring above ground. Evil on its way is preceded by crowds of menacing purple clouds. Much pageant for ill. But why must the herald of good be so still? No broad avenue, no triumphal gate indicate imminent joy. Master, forgive the surprise holding our incredulous eyes. We are so used to pain. We are so used to grief. Gain is a hard belief. Joy is an impossible faith. But this is no wraith on the third day. No sound, no stir. How could we infer that it must be so? Lord, we cannot guess or believe. We can only know.
All right.
I tried to start with the best possible light for our sculptor.
Yes.
Right? Pierce here, I think, is saying there's a lot in the quietness,
Yes.
in the nothingness.
Right?
And so I suspect that we'll laugh quite a bit in this, but I think there's something else too.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that there's some good things that can be said about this piece you sent me, but there's quite a bit of frustration being expressed, I think, in an artist who would choose to present his audience with nothing.
Right.
With an idea.
Right.
And he gave it some rules. So, he in his words, his piece entitled "I Am" isn't nothing,
Right.
but rather a vacuum,
Yes. It's a vacuum.
which my physics teacher informed me meant the absence of all else.
Right.
But maybe that's not exactly nothing.
Right.
A vacuum is something.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave it some rules, right? That you needed to display this
Peace.
idea
Right.
in a 5 foot by 5 foot obstructionless area.
Right.
Thankfully, he said lighting and climate control are optional. But
It would be easy to store.
for those who haven't heard what we're talking about, go ahead and spell out the story.
Right. So there is an Italian sculptor who has recently sold an invisible sculpture.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so the ArtNet News, this came across my desk, and the headline is, "An Italian artist auctioned off an invisible sculpture for $18,300. It's made literally of nothing.
You do get something for your $18,000.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
You get a stamped certificate as a receipt of payment.
Of authenticity.
You did give me
Yes.
a little over $18,000 for nothing.
Right. So, okay. I thought this was funny. But the reason that I thought it deserved our talking about it on the podcast is when Taylor Defoe, I hope you're doing well, whoever you are, Taylor Defoe writes this article, and in the second paragraph we get a line that I couldn't ignore.
Okay.
And this is what it is. Last month, the 67-year-old artist Salvatore Garro sold an, quote, immaterial sculpture, end quote, which is to say that it doesn't exist. And I don't like that statement at all.
It's a materialist statement.
Exactly.
Yep.
Because it is not material, our author, our writer, reporter, feels justified in saying that it doesn't exist.
Right.
And I think that is I think it makes a farce of whatever this sculptor is trying to do.
Right. Right.
Now,
Because we've had this for quite some time.
right.
It's not new to this fellow. Right. I mentioned John Cage.
Yes.
With his performance of the moment. That it's not the notes played on the piano, it's what happens for 3 minutes. I think 3 minutes 24 seconds.
Yeah, yeah.
Something like that. I forget his exact timing that he gave it. But,
Sure.
But the individuality, the uniqueness of that moment. Right. A flowing river that you can't step into twice.
Yes.
Here with sculpture, he's trying to say, look, if I try and express in marble or clay or plaster or whatever
Right.
this
Idea.
object,
Right.
I'm pushing your mind in a particular direction. I would rather offer you the opportunity to go wherever I'm going to title it even, I am
Right.
so open-ended
Uh-huh.
that you're going to see what you want to see, and it may be radically different from what I want to see, but the point is that it's yours. And I'm paying. You're paying me for the opportunity to justify this individual moment.
Right.
This privilege of forming my own thing. And I get your point. I guess I'm first wrestling with what it is he's trying to do.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And then, of course, we want to wrestle with the guy who denies him anything immaterial.
Right. Well, so that's the thing, is that this article. Well, I'm not going to go after this journalist in particular, I guess, but there is a stance that says that this sculptor hasn't done anything. He's a swindler, right? That he's just transferred money from someone else's account to his by means of some clever trick.
And eBay's been full of this kind of stuff over the years.
Okay.
People selling apparently worthless stuff for a lot of money.
Right.
And part of it has been, what's the psychology behind paying for a jar of dirt?
Right.
$10,000 for a jar of dirt. Or
Right.
something. I don't quote me on the specifics.
Yeah, sure.
But I've from time to time seen these stories coming out of kind of this. I don't know even the explanation for it per se, but this willingness on the part of people to own something unique, different, be a part of something unusual,
Yeah.
a happening,
Right.
so I don't. I guess where I am in talking in a podcast about education is
Right.
are we being paid for nothing?
We as teachers.
Yes.
Because as podcasters, no, we're not being paid for nothing.
It's just not getting paid. There is a donate button on the website if you want.
Right. Whoever bought this sculpture for $18,000
Can you pass this along?
Yeah.
Have we got a deal for you?
But
No,
but
maybe
as teachers.
maybe I didn't build up to it. But
No.
But
Are
our
we being-
ideas,
Yes.
are
good. Wow, this is going to be better than
words
I thought. Yeah.
real?
Yeah.
We have this whole meaning making thing going on, where even ink on a page nowadays is approached from a very individualistic. What do these words mean to you?
Right.
As though there's almost no shared meaning.
Mm-hmm.
You bring yourself to the words on the page and you make meaning out of them for yourself.
Right.
And I've always been somebody who's kind of reacted against that, going, wait, no, there is a form, there is an inerrant meaning to a word, even when words are under constant change. There, you know, lamp doesn't mean
Elephant.
a hole in the wall that you walk through.
Right.
No, that's door.
Right.
And lamp and door are not just conflatable. Right.
Right.
So this pushes that, because he hasn't even given us symbols of meaning. Right? He's just presented you with the opportunity to form this in your own mind, whatever it is that you are.
Right.
Right. I think that's what's behind the title. And I think I read
Right.
that this isn't his first work of this.
Right.
That I think he's done Buddha in Contemplation and Aphrodite Cries. So he's suggesting, right? To me, it's poetic.
Yes.
Here's this, as Whitman would say, barbaric yelp. Right?
Yeah. Right.
What do you do with it? And I do think that differing people are going to do different things with it, just like differing people would come to, say, Dante's Canto 9 and the Divine Comedy and do something different.
Of
with
course.
it based on who they are. But it's still got, the words are still the words.
There's something.
There is
Right.
something
Right.
that I'm working, and that's the thing. We teach literature, and so I'm not willing to say that is nothing.
Right. Right.
You know, it's totally up to the reader,
Right.
and that you could get, you know, I'm not with Milton. You could make a heaven of hell or a hell
Right.
of heaven.
Right.
It's Satan that says that.
Yes.
And Milton is lying to us. You know?
Yeah.
You can't.
Right.
You can't change those things.
That's right.
But can you take?
But can you convince your own self, right? I mean, you can. We know that someone can't make a heaven of hell or a hell of heaven, but we know that we can so thoroughly lie to ourselves as to believe
Yes.
that heaven is hell or hell is heaven.
Or better to rule in hell than.
Yes, exactly. Than to serve in heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's a real.
So are you pushing this
I don't know.
towards the garden and what Satan says to Eve? Is that what he's offering her? Is a vacuum? I mean,
Yeah.
the fruit's real.
The fruit is real.
The penalty is real.
That's right.
But this promise seems ephemeral. You shall be as God.
Right. I don't know. I mean, I think that for Eve, yeah, there was something real offered, right? But it was I guess the question becomes: is Satan in the garden doing the same sort of trick
Right.
that this sculptor is doing? And I want to say,
By making him
Right, yeah.
satanic.
Is he playing exactly? Is he playing the role of
Tempter.
the trickster? Yeah, the tempter. I want to say I don't actually know, but there seem to be enough rules governing his art that to me, I don't see it as only
Give me money
a
for
trick.
nothing.
Yeah, exactly. I think that he's pushing it, right? That he's really sort of pushing us to the limit of what is art for?
Yep.
What does it do?
And are you better served by your own artistic ability than mine?
Right.
I don't know, but I'm assuming when they call him a sculptor, I'm assuming at some point he has produced sculpture,
Yeah.
and that he's capable.
Well,
of
you mean
making
a physical sculpture?
a physical sculpture.
Right.
I don't think that this immaterial or invisible sculpture is all he's got.
Right.
Right. You're right.
Exactly.
And thus he could sell you something.
Yes.
He's made a choice.
Right.
This is a very clear sort of ideological choice on his part. I'm going to provide you for a fee with what? With
Right.
Can you make the horse drink the water?
Right.
Right? What are they going to do with this vacuum? Did they not already have it? Right?
Right.
And I face that a lot as a teacher.
Okay.
I get students all the time say, I would never read this book if you weren't making me. But now that I've read it, I've found things in it I didn't expect to find. So is he sort of inviting us to something that we may not have invited ourselves to?
That's
Setting up the circumstances by which we can experience his art,
right.
which is really our art brought forth in his opposite of space.
right. Well, so
I feel like we're arguing about the nature of zero.
right. So that's just it. I mean, I think there is. I mean, I don't want to get on the podcast and just stick up for this guy. Full stop. Right. I think that it is funny, but at the same time, I'm struck by his boldness to say, no, there is something here. Right? It's like when you look in the woods and somebody, and you just sort of have a cursory look, but somebody says, look, a deer. Now, if there's a deer or not, you're going to look really hard
For
that.
not a beaver, not
Right.
a bird,
Right.
a deer.
For
That
a
your
deer.
mind knows what a deer is.
Right.
He hasn't told us to look for anything.
Right. And maybe that's the crucial difference.
This title, and I don't know what he means by meditating Buddhist and a
Right.
cry of Aphrodite, but this one,
Right.
I am in Italian, is loaded.
Yeah.
I mean-
well, that's what God says his name is.
Is that right? And even in more modern psychological terms, the
ego.
id and the ego and etc.
Well, what's her face? Ayn Rand has her book Anthem ends ego.
Ego,
Right.
yep.
So when the character rediscovers himself, life begins, as it were.
Right. Well, and famously, of course, I think, therefore I am.
Exactly.
There's a lot in that statement. He's not just pillow feathers.
Yeah. Right.
He's
exactly.
purposely launching us into a deep pool
Yep.
that already has a lot in it,
Mm-hmm.
and each of us knows a part of it.
Right.
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 As Christians, we're going to go for the Jews would as well.
Yeah,
go
absolutely.
for this Old Testament reference
Right.
in a different way.
Yeah.
Right. Because
Sure.
Jesus is coming in and saying, "I am
Right.
the I am."
Right.
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 I'm equal to that.
Yes.
And that gets him a rough time.
In some hot water, for sure.
So but so I appreciate the look into our current world, inner world, that someone is able to pull this off.
Right.
And I'm sure the fact that it's racing across the internet here for a couple of days before it's gone,
Yeah.
it indicates that it touches a lot of people. You said with laughter or with amusement or with, that's interesting type of. I'll click on that to see what's going on there. That doesn't sound normal.
Right.
But I think when these things happen, we saw a lot of these kinds of things going on in the 60s, for instance.
Okay.
Where people were just, let's just go at it a whole different way.
Yeah. Jack Kerouac writes his road, The Road, on one giant continuous scroll. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool, Jack.
Yeah. No. But so this is the search.
Right.
For the individual. Right. My
Unique.
students and I talk about this a lot with the tattoo thing.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So, Tom Petty in early 90s. Eddie goes out to California and meets a girl with a tattoo too.
Oh right.
Here's
like
somebody-
it's noteworthy. Like
There's
wow.
a girl that has a tattoo as well.
Wow.
Hey, that's unusual. Not so much now.
Sure.
And I've always believed that this form of self-marking is I hear my students, when I'm 18 I'm going to get
Right. Yeah. Me too.
And I don't think that they understand that it's now a way of joining rather than separating.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And I haven't talked to the guy, but the article comes across. Of course, as you said, this article comes across somewhat negatively, or we're going to blow this open and show it for the scam that it is.
Right.
But he's trying to do something unique.
He is.
And he's trying to help whoever purchases it. It's more about having this unique thing.
Yes.
Which is true of all art.
Yeah.
Right? When you
Absolutely.
deal in original art, not the
Reproductions.
reproduction.
Yeah.
But you actually own a Monet.
Right.
That's that unique piece of art.
Yeah.
Worth a lot of money because of its unique artistry.
Right. Well, because of its rarity.
Its rarity and its beauty.
Yeah.
Right? There's people have... Somebody wants it worse than anybody else and is willing to pay more for it than anyone else. And puts this, I remember years ago now when Van Gogh's Sunflowers sold for, at the time, some astronomical, I want to say 20 million or something like
Wow.
that. And people were like, that's just insane. But we pay that to, just the other day, watch a YouTuber fight a retired professional boxer. $140 million played out for what wasn't a fight.
Right.
It was an exhibition.
Right.
There wasn't even judges. Nobody won.
Right.
Although everybody's arguing about who did or didn't. But what am I saying? That we regularly plump down a lot of money for a moment, for an event, for a very ethereal thing.
Yeah.
That we have proof it happened, and a boxing match really did happen. People's fists were striking each other's face. Unlike this vacuum.
Yeah.
But the willingness to pay for a moment is not unusual.
No, it's not. And I think that reveals something about art in particular. That, how many people have created some sculpture and then sold it, and nobody ever said it doesn't exist. Right?
Because that piece of rock.
Exactly, because it's a pet rock. Hey, cool. Okay, that's enough. Right? But whereas
Paint on
I think, exactly. What is most... The reason that people pay for art, I don't know if I want to say all the time or whatever, but I just mean what draws us to art, what keeps us there, what holds our attention, is, I think, something immaterial. right? So the
Now,
art
in many
and
cases,
yeah,
the shared. And so I'm interested to. I wish you could interview the dude that bought it.
yeah. What did you buy?
Why did you buy it?
Right.
What are you going to do with it?
Right.
Is it a one-time thing for you? Are you going to come back to this?
Is it a tax break?
Yeah.
Right.
Was it just I ain't got nothing better to do with his 18th. I want to be the dude that bought that.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we do live in a society where celebrity is a thing.
Oh, sure.
And
Well,
they haven't celebritized the buyer yet. They've
Right.
celebritized the seller.
yes.
He's in the news.
Right.
Maybe the buyer has asked to stay anonymous, lest people think he's...
Well, he doesn't want anyone to steal it.
It's in his vault. Talk about a vault.
Right. Well,
Do you go in the left ear or the right ear? Which one is...
Right. I think that it, as I look at this, I think, okay, let's return to Dante. You know, the book is not all there is, right? In art, the physical medium is a springboard into a conversation. And so
physical leads to the metaphysical.
yeah, oh wow, well said. Yeah. So our sculptor, his physical work is sparse, but there is a movement. Exactly, and I think he is, or at least I hope he is. He could be a swindler. I don't know.
Right.
But I hope that he is trying to move us toward that same realm as Van Gogh was trying to move us toward, right?
This seems like the thing missing is the shared element. That's why I said, if I could interview the buyer,
Right.
could he show us the sculpture?
Yeah.
Because it's internal. It's totally personal.
Right.
I'm not denying its reality.
Right.
I'm just saying it's communicable. Or is it communicable?
Yeah, that's in question, right?
Right.
Right. So, or would he take you to your house, or would he take you to his house
Look,
and say,
for $18,000.
Yeah, look, exactly. I think yes. I think he
Perhaps
would.
if he's joined the quote unquote cultists, right?
Right.
If he's bought in truly,
Yeah.
if he sincerely purchased this vacuum,
Yeah.
then he should want to. This so art to me is part of it is this. It's always a triangle,
Okay.
in my opinion.
Okay.
There's the thing, the art.
You okay?
The
object.
the artifact,
Okay, artifact. Good.
the artist,
Uh-huh.
and the receiver,
Observe. Okay, gotcha.
the audience,
Right.
the patron,
The beholder.
the beholder.
Okay.
Right. And there's a relationship in all of that triangle, going in
Yeah.
all directions.
Right.
And has he?
He's given something. I mean, he's given a certificate of authenticity. He's given a title. He's given rules
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
its observation.
Which almost sound absurd. 5 foot by 5 foot
Right.
for a thought.
Right. Well,
Seems
but it's not
big,
for it's not
seems
for
small.
a thought. It's for a sculpture. Right? Like,
Which is
display
That's-
this sculpture this way.
that's where you hear the circuits buzzing,
Right.
right?
Right.
But a sculpture is a thing. It's made out of Play-Doh or made out of plastic or made out of something.
Yeah.
And he's calling something that is not a thing.
Right.
He's speaking of something immaterial as though it's material.
Right.
Because sculpture is a material
Right.
denoted
Yeah.
object. So that's where the
Yeah. It gets right, and that's where you get our journalist saying it doesn't exist,
right.
right? And
well,
we say it does,
right,
but
right.
just not materially.
It's a very, we run right into this in school all the time, where I kind of get this feeling while you teach in the humanities,
Yeah.
and it's all kind of touchy-feely, psychological, inner stuff.
Right.
And I teach math or science. I teach hard stuff.
Right.
This is real.
Concrete. Physical.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I can give objective tests. 2 + 2 = 4.
Right.
And you give these, like, thought experiments that you call tests.
Yeah.
You grade subjectively.
Yeah.
And I get why, I know where that's coming from, but I reject where it's coming from.
I do too.
I don't think that that's a proper view of the world. I believe it's materialism. I believe it's very prevalent. I believe it's producing that second paragraph.
Yep.
But again, we don't have. It'd be fun, I guess, to our little podcast get a hold of Salvatore or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Salvatore. Nice.
But he might not want to talk about it.
Sure.
Or he might be so tired of being asked these stupid questions.
Right.
Or talk to the buyer. But even there's a limit, because there might be more there than they know is there.
Yeah.
They might still be struggling with a culture of materialism and a culture of consumerism. It's very interesting, right?
Yeah.
That this hasn't, nobody's going to, as you were joking earlier, nobody's going to steal this.
Well, that we're willing to consume. I don't know, man. The more I think about this, the more I like it. Like that he has sold something. Well, the selling is what gets him in trouble, I think. But that he has produced something immaterial is, I think, fascinating.
And it's that thing that's a part of the thing, right? So Rodin's The Thinker, or whatever sculpture you want to. I just referenced that one. Everybody should know that one.
Right.
You're looking at it. It's got that thing, that almost indefinable, mystical sublimity to it.
Yeah.
That makes you go, oh, this is worth looking at.
Right.
Right. Or any great painting.
Right.
Or work of art, whatever kind it might be. And I guess where I'm going with this is this notion of tradition or rules. Wendell-Berry, who we talk a lot about on this podcast, has a book, Standing by Words, in which he talks about poetry in particular, his form of art, where the modern poet writes for poets.
Yes.
Doesn't write for common man.
Right.
He writes to be admired by other artists.
Yeah. Inside baseball.
Right. And seems to still be in that mode of, and I think cultures go through this, but our civilization seems to be at a point with our art where we're most infatuated by breaking the rules.
Yeah.
Traditionally.
Iconoclastic.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so people do these screwy things with poems.
Right.
Right. And poets have always played with the words.
Of course.
Right. But now it almost becomes absurd because
it's that search for uniqueness again.
We've stretched the individual out so thin that it's...
And it's also an obsession with form. All there is form. There's no such thing as content.
Right.
So if you can only be unique in form because there's no such thing as content because the author is dead and all of this stuff, well then all you have left is form. And if you're going to be unique, you've got to do something with form someone else hasn't done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, this has hit the visual arts as well, right? We've seen over the last 80 years or so people with shock art, Warhol with his...
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to get an image...
Campbell's soup, yeah.
Well, I'm going to get a familiar image and try and make it overly familiar by producing it in panels.
Right.
the cage. You're
Right.
expecting him to apply pressure to the keys of the piano, and he does not. He sits there and sees what happens.
Right.
That's a purposeful. I'm going to mess with you, or mess with the masters, or play with the rules, try and break the rules. It has a very modern,
Yeah.
even postmodern feel to it.
No doubt.
And I feel some of that in this story.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe I could just sell the opportunity.
Yeah.
Which I'm not sure that's what it is, but
I don't know.
It feels like that.
Yeah. I think there's something there. But like when my students are, I had a student ask me, I assigned an essay, and one of my seniors asked, can we write about a real person? We were reading the Brothers Karamazov at the time, right?
Okay.
Can we write about a real person? And I said, oh, student, whatever do you mean? You mean like Alosha or Ivan or Dmitri or Fyodor? No, a real person. And in the question was the assumption that characters in books aren't real.
Right.
And I think
faced that
that's crazy.
Yeah, I've faced this with history and literature.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
This really happened. No, whoa. Tom Sawyer, Huck Finn, and their buddy, I can't remember his name right now,
Yeah.
ran off to the island on the Mississippi River and returned at their funeral. That really happened.
Yeah.
You mean like in Mark Twain's life? No. I mean Tom Sawyer, Huck Finn, and whatever his name is.
Yeah.
That makes no sense at all, Mr. That's fiction. But fiction's real.
Yes.
And I think that's where we're at here.
That's where we're at, I think.
Yeah. It is. The 18,000 wasn't for nothing.
Right. That's right.
It
It
was
just wasn't
for-
for anything material.
Right. It's a metaphysical purchase.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Well, and hey, in a certain way, to trade something physical for something non-physical, this was a bargain at twice the
Right.
price.
It maybe money can buy you love.
Right. At the same time, you wonder what has the purchaser of this art got that we haven't got.
Right.
Have we not beheld it in the same way that the purchaser has?
Well, that's why I called it opportunity earlier.
Yeah, I think that's a good word.
There's something. The purchase is about the place, the possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Until he purchased that, he was just going down life doing his thing. But then this opportunity to purchase this non-thing.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
interesting. It's interesting.
It is. I don't know how to wrap that up, but I do think that it has provided us a good opportunity to consider what art is, to what extent the different arts overlap, and I don't know, maybe some of the questions that we ask about art or should be asking.
Yeah. Cool.
Good.